Hey, Single Plane Academy Gold members, I got some great stuff for you today regarding ball position, foot position, and radius. And this is stuff that's basically exclusive for you because I wouldn't be discussing this stuff with people that weren't really into it, because there's some detail here that I want you to understand that it seems complicated, but there's a reason for it, and there's biomechanical reasons for it. Now, one of the most important tools that I use and I recommend using is obviously the alignment ball position trainer. This is a staple of our instruction. It's also a staple of ball striking. You can have the greatest swing in the world, and if your ball position's incorrect, you may hit a bad shot and you blame it on your swing, but your swing was fine, your ball was just in the wrong place. So ball position is a very important part of ball striking. And what's happening is you have this kind of shape to the trainer. Well, let me grab my wedge, and I'll show you that when I have a wedge in my hand or even a short iron, and I stand with my feet equidistant from the trainer, it creates, and I'm looking down here, it's creating my feet, my toe line is slightly open to my actual target line. It's creating, that's what we consider a radius, because now when I put the club down, you can see the club is square, and it allows the club to be square to this feet line. That's because a wedge requires more shaft lean. And when you have more shaft lean, it means the hands are more forward, the body's open, and the ball is more back in the stance. Now, I'm not saying it's back in the stance relative to the feet, but it's back in the stance relative to my lead shoulder, right? And think of it this way. The arc of the shoulder is creating a radius. The shoulder's creating a radius. And by the way, I had this question for Moe as well. I mean, I used to ask him, your club is behind the ball, but is it square? And he'd say, yeah, it's dead square. Well, some of you are trying to put it back, I would say artificially maybe, put it behind the ball. In other words, don't just set the club behind the ball, it's going to be open. The proper tilt of the body, so watch, when I put the club and I tilt correctly, I can get the face square from the tilt of the body. It's not just putting the club back. See, there's a difference. So when I look down here and I have the 7-iron and I tilt it back, I can have it square and behind the ball and have all my dynamics of the club face correct. The other thing too is, when I'm looking down here, I am squaring up this part of the face, not this part. And so many times you see people see it from this angle, they see it from that camera angle, they're seeing the top part of the club. I want you to see the leading edge, the scoring lines, the blade. That's actually the direction of this face. So tilt it back and look at the bottom lines on the club, not the top edge of the club face, and that should be pretty square to your target line, and that's a square club face. If you think about it, the only straight line you have at impact is the lead arm in the club, so there's a radius occurring because of the shoulder's position with the lead arm. See there, you watch that club movement, it's moving in somewhat of an arc. See that? It's an arc through the ball. So watch it go through the ball here, it's moving in an arc. And so you have to deal with that arc, and that's why ball position is so important. So we don't want to get the ball in the wrong place where it's open to the arc or close to the arc. So when you have the ball this far behind the shoulder, this is a 7-iron now, you're going to see that what I have to do is I have to make sure that when the arc occurs in a straight line, that the club face is square. That's why I need my feet slightly open. Now, this starts to changing when, watch what happens to my body. I'm not moving my ball position, but now I have less loft. Oh, I'm going to grab my 3-iron. I have less loft in a 3-iron. So when I grab a long iron, it doesn't have as much shaft lean required. In other words, it's probably half the amount of hands forward position. So what happens is, not changing my ball position here, I still have the arc to deal with, but I need to make sure that the hands aren't, there's no way I could hit a 3-iron with that much lean in it. So what happens is, to make up for that, I have a wider stance. So you look at the 4-3 on the trainer, and now what that did is it put my lead shoulder more behind the ball, right? So now look at the arc, here comes the club, here comes the arc, and then now I can square the club, but it's not as leaned forward as the other ball. So now what you see is, because of that, if I have my feet open, so if my feet were open too far, see my arc goes too far to the inside. So now I'm going to go ahead and square my feet up. You're going to see my feet almost slightly even. You might even consider that slightly closed with a 3-iron, because now I can set the club behind the ball and it's going to nicely square up to the target based on ball position, foot position, and where the arc is occurring. So it might sound pretty complicated, but that's what's happening there. That's why you're seeing the shape of the trainer relative to my feet. Now let me grab the driver and show you how the driver's working, because this is where I see a lot of people make mistakes. When I'm looking down and you look at the trainer, I'm going to get close to it so you can see, but you're going to see that my foot position is always in that spot, the P for the driver ball position, so I want it off the P. And then you look at the trainer, I have my foot in the widest position, but notice when I look down that it's offset, it's closed to the actual target line. There's the target line, there's my feet line. It's closed to that line. Now, I don't mind if you even do it a little bit more than that, because what's happening, because that ball is so far forward, watch my shoulder, here's my arc again. So here's the arc of the swing, and notice how the arc is actually almost moving at that point to this side. See, it's moving in this arc. So what happens is if I get my feet open, if I have my feet open, I see this happen a lot with a driver, it's moving the arc too far this way too soon. So in other words, if I get my feet more in a, people call it closed, but I call it offset, more in an offset closed position, now the arc occurs right here and the face can be square to that arc. That's the problem, is you're dealing with the radius in this whole process.